everyone. Welcome back to another week here in American politics as interpreted by the Damage Report. And every week, two things happen. One, we get to roll the dice and hope that everything's better than it was last week. That hasn't actually ever happened. But what has regularly happened on Monday is the return of Francesca Fiorentini. Francesca, how's it going?
Good. Interpretation that just makes me want to do like a dance, like everything is like
You've got the cool lights in the background for it.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I've got puppets here. I just live here.
I love puppets.
Yeah.
Anyway, random factoid related to puppets. I recently watched Forgetting Sarah Marshall again, one of my all-time favorite comedies. And did you know that the puppet show that he does in that, he actually wrote the full thing years before? That's what you're gonna learn today. Nothing else, just that. Anyway, Francesca, I'm glad to have you here for two reasons. One, we're gonna do an awesome hour of news talking about the attempt to cancel Maxine Waters, the corporate tax rate. We've got some yoga in here. And who's so crazy that OAN had to cut their video? So we've got that, that should be fun. The second thing though, is that every Monday we do a top 10 list, and we've got one crafted for Francesca this week. So we're gonna be doing our top 10 favorite comedians of all time. And the difficult thing about that, as I'm sure you're experiencing, is choosing them because there's so many that deserve to be on the list, Francesca.
Just five. I only get five apparently.
Put yourself on the list. No, you could totally do more than five.
I was gonna just put myself 5 times and then s'mores Pop-Tarts.
No, it's gonna be number 5, Bitchuation from number 4, Newsbroke. Number 3, that episode with Bernie on MSNBC. It's gonna be awesome.
You just listed my Twitter bio is basically like that one time I did the thing. Anyway, yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
I can't wait. So definitely, if you're already a tier 2 or tier 3 member on YouTube, you'll have access to that. If not, become one. Bada bing, you solved your problem. It's difficult to solve some problems in American politics. This one is doable.
Hey, anyway, bada bing, Iadarola with the bada bings early. Corporate tax rate, who needs it? Okay, I'm done.
What, are you doing a Joe Manchin impersonation right there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, okay, everybody, thank you for being here. Please hit the like button and share the stream if you haven't already. That would be awesome. Also, if you want to send us messages, tweets, comments, super chats, anything like that, we'll respond as we go. Have a little bit of fun, find out what's going on. I can see Obi-Mom Kenobi off in the Twitch, give the tier 1 subs like she does. Thank you, Obi-Mom Kenobi, as always. And with that, why don't we jump into this thing? I feel like we've almost, I hope, reached the end of the multi-year saga of the corporate tax rate, where it was once at 35%. Donald Trump dropped it down to 21, but then we got a Democratic president who swore he was gonna reverse all that, kind of, by bringing it only back up to 28%. But that's not good enough. We can get it less raised than that, America. And that apparently is what's gonna happen because the universe of Democratic senators concerned about raising it just back to 28% is broader than Joe Manchin, who's talked previously about that being unacceptable. And the rate will apparently land at 25%. Parties close to the discussion tell Axios. Democrats who've hinted they may be uncomfortable with going to 28% include Tim Kaine, remember the VP pick not that many years ago, Mark Warner, Kyrsten Sinema, and John Tester of Montana. Now that is not only much less of closing the gap provided by Donald Trump, but in addition, it could be a problem for Joe Biden because while increasing the rate from 21 to 25% would raise about $600 billion over 15 years, it would leave President Biden well short of paying for his proposed 2.25 trillion 8-year infrastructure plan. And so he's gonna not do what he said he would do. Corporations are gonna win out, and maybe he has to significantly cut his infrastructure bill. So this is all good news for someone, just probably not any of you watching this. Francesca, what do you think?
I mean, this is one of the most no-brainers in all the land of no-brainers. I know we're gonna be talking a little bit about Dr. Seuss later, so I'm there. In a no-brainer Monday morning, raising the corporate tax rate makes absolute sense, especially, I mean, and this is the thing, right? If you're trying to get any of the plans that Joe Biden has for this country. If you're gonna, BBB, build back better, you better raise, I'm calling it BBB, triple B. You're triple B, and you're gonna have to, you gotta raise the corporate tax rate. It makes no sense. And you look at other countries like Germany and France, countries that have a higher tax rate than the United States. And they are also countries that have a way more robust social safety net. So this is very much part of, if we're trying to break with the neoliberal democratic past, which it's unclear, jury's still out if Biden really wants to, but it seems like some of his spending indicates that he is, then this is part of that. We're gonna have to raise it.
Yeah. I think you're totally right about the taxes. I'm concerned about what this means for the infrastructure bill. Like our vague, small hopes that it would expand beyond 2.25 trillion. I don't know how you build back better with this. I'm beginning to regret my BBB tramp stamp. And so this is bad news for a lot of people. Now, one good note, according to Axios, is President Joe Biden's plan to increase the rate US multinationals pay on their foreign earnings from 10.5% to 21% is less controversial and stands a better chance of remaining intact in the final legislation. That would raise an additional $700 billion. And the White House technically hasn't backed away from the president's proposed 28% rate, but indicated it's willing to find a compromise to pay for his spending plans, even though, as we pointed out, it doesn't pay for the spending plans. The compromise literally doesn't do anything that he's saying it does. Democrats close to the White House expect Biden will accept 25% and pocket it as a political win. Well, you should be eager to find something to pocket, since you won't be pocketing a lot of money raised from corporations, because Trump lowered the corporate tax rate by 14 points, from 35 down to 21. That is 14 points, or roughly a 50% decrease. They were gonna raise it to 28, a 7-point increase. So it was gonna just go up half as much as they had cut it. Now it's gonna go up 4 points. What is that? I'm not a mathematician. Is that like 30% of the cut that they just had? And it's not like 35% was insane. A case could have been made that could have been raised, especially as we'll get to when you acknowledge that lots of corporations don't pay that. They don't pay anything near that. They don't pay 35%, they don't pay 20%, they don't pay 21%.
Yes.
So this is just so, the politics of it suck. There's no point in criticizing Axios for the way they present this, because Axios is gonna Axios, but the idea that like, they may be uncomfortable with going to 28%, these senators. Yeah, why? What makes them uncomfortable? What makes the 28% controversial? Stop asserting things and not defining them. They're uncomfortable because of the pressure put on them by their corporate donors who don't want to pay more money. How are you going to imply that without making it explicit? Maybe their audience is just so politically savvy that it's unnecessary, or maybe they're so in the know about what politics is actually intended to do that we don't want to like make them uncomfortable by pointing it out or anything. But it's important that people know what is actually determining all this. Kyrsten Sinema isn't uncomfortable because she's superstitious about the number 8. She's uncomfortable because she gets paid by those donors and she wants to deliver for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she and the rest, I think, are opening themselves up, and they should be opening themselves up to other Democrats coming in and naming what they are unwilling to do. And look, these are also states, Montana, Arizona, they've also been run roughshod over when it comes to corporate power. Amazon is huge in a state like Arizona. So once again, like, what's really interesting about the ways that the United States promoted so much neoliberal economics around the world. Okay, all these countries in the global south, lower your tax rate, blah, blah, blah. So long as American companies are on top, so long as American companies are on top, so long as American companies are on top. But the American people, they're not on top. And you bet your ass that like, they are definitely coming for American workers. If you think we've exported all of this like race to the bottom politics and economics for so many years, of course these same companies are gonna look at the American workforce and American states and say, absolutely, I will gouge this exact country where I'm supposedly from in the same way that I gouge everywhere else. And I will say, we're gonna talk about the American First Caucus. And as racist and xenophobic as that is, the one shred of truth that I think Trumpism has is when it points out that some of those free trade policies have not benefited the United States and the United States workforce, not in a xenophobic way, but in a legit, able to put food on the table way. So I think it's really important that these Democrats get on board. And once again, we're in a political system where dark money is rife. So it's sort of this it's a puzzle. How do you unclench the little senator's claws from their dark money purses, or their cute little whatever middle-aged life crisis purses in Kyrsten Sinema's case? So it's one piece of the puzzle. I'm glad that that the rate for taxing profits made abroad is going up. That is really big. But it's gonna take a lot more to rein in corporate power in this country.
Yeah, especially when, as we pointed out, these rates, whether they're raised to that or not, are not what they're actually going to pay.
Right.
Okay, let's check in with the audience. We're gonna stay on awful Senate Democrats when we come back, though. Let's see what's going on out there. Oh, by the way, I wanted to do a couple of little reminders, including that tomorrow is going to be our latest Tier 3 member Q&A on YouTube. So this is for our YouTube members of Tier 3. Every month we do a little get together, talk about politics and non-politics alike. So that's gonna be available tomorrow, 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. There is a post on the community tab where you can post questions that you'd like to make sure make it into our time. Obviously you can ask questions during it as well. But we love to have some topics ahead of time. So feel free to head over to that post on the community tab. Also, early heads up again that on Thursday, myself and Cenk and Anna, Ben Dixon, Ida, representatives from the Sunrise Movement, Brett Ehrlich are gonna be doing an Earth Day special. That is going to be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So right after the post game on Thursday, we're gonna do a big deep dive into what Biden has done and hasn't done, what damage to the environment and government policy remains from the Trump years, what the prospects of the Green New Deal are. We're gonna be recognizing people who've done good stuff around the world in regards to the environment. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. If you are a world nerd, you're gonna like this. And also later on after the damage report, in fact, right after the damage report, Dr. Rashad Ritchie's Indisputable will be available on Twitch. So if you're there, just stay there. If you're not, head over there, twitch.tv/TYT, and you can watch the awesome Dr. Rashad Ritchie. With that said, Ruthless Dragon with the first super chats today saying good morning, Dragon Squad. Good morning, Ruthless Dragon. Thank you for that. Sophie Shipper with a big super chat saying 5G a bad limerick. Let's face it, Mondays can be dour, except for the TDR hour. So why be a miser? Got my first jab of Pfizer. Now making big bucks as a cell tower. That's pretty good. Look, some competition in the poetry game here. Thank you for that. Franklin says, I hope the brevity, to use a bit of levity, will be so kind to divert the mind of the craziness we find with John and Fran, dark-browed comedian. We can use all the laughter we can. P.S. still snowing. Thank you for that. I could use a little bit of snow here. That'd be nice.
Still snowing. That's a great PS. Solid.
Somebody put, I'm assuming maybe it's Bart, maybe it's Craig. Somebody put top 5. I think this is for comedians. Dylan. I think that's a reference to the Chappelle Show reference to the thing from MTV, I think. Anyway, thank you for that. Aaron Rye over on Twitch, subscribed for 9 months, appreciate that. Muggsy for 7, thank you so much. Ghost Fox Toys, 9 months too. Your Twitch baby has been born. Mama Misa for 5 months, thank you for that. Amy Park, first time watching live on Twitch from Canada. Thank you, Canada. Love Canada. Aim to go there someday. And wow, Bup Dragon, that is a comment, and I can't read it, or at the very least won't. But thank you for your comments on Twitch. Anyway, with that, let's jump back into the news. There are some truly awful people in American politics, and there are some truly arrogant people in American politics, and sometimes the stars align, and the truly awful meets with the truly arrogant, producing, I think, this picture that I wish was an NFT just so I'd never have to see it again because I wouldn't be able to afford it. This is Kyrsten Sinema's Instagram post of her in a hat, I'll say, drinking sangria, I believe. But the important part is her ring, which says F off, but with the full word there. And why wouldn't she have an F off attitude? I mean, after all, she was instrumental in making sure that millions of American workers don't get a raise, including many of her constituents who worked and hoped for her to get elected so that someday she could be so comfortable and arrogant that she could deny them pay and then have a nice sangria on the weekend. It's just nice to like lounge with a hat and glasses and drink a sangria and then laugh at the poor people who are gonna stay poor because of your best efforts. Isn't that fun, Francesca? She's cool. She's different than all those stodgy senators. She's a different breed.
She's like 14 going on 40, you know what I mean? Like this is like if you gave a 14-year-old girl a bunch of money and power, what would she do? And she'd be like, F off ring with my magenta hat and a sangria that matches. Anyway, give me your money, money, give me money, please give me your money. Oh my God, like look at that, like just that is her energy. And I have to be honest with you, I saw this photo and just, it was one of the scroll things where like not interested. I feel like this is like one of, I put it in the like, I like sort of random friend from high school who I follow on Instagram or Twitter.
Oh, you follow her on Instagram?
No. Someone was clearly, it was someone sharing this photo, but okay. I scrolled past it as a like, desperate for attention, weird, like weird white lady gonna get me into a conversation that's gonna last for an hour that I don't wanna be in. Do you know that energy? I'm sorry, but it's true. So I scrolled past it, but man, of course it's Kyrsten Sinema, who's the Y in her name I can never properly place, and it's very upsetting to me. And I feel like she changes where the Y goes pretty much every week. It shifts.
It definitely moves. Anyway, yeah, it's like she's the answer to the question, what if Veruca Salt but senator? Yeah, it's just awful. But look, the thing about her, and we've I think stressed this throughout the year, is that there are many as bad as her. She just adds an extra performative layer of awfulness, and it comes in different forms, like her name. It could be this picture, it could be this video, for instance.
Oh, the back pat. That back pat is just.
Miss Sinema.
No money for the poors. So yeah, it does come in different forms. And yes, we're never gonna stop playing that video. Literally, I am going to have a white beard down to the table and we're still gonna be playing that video. But anyway, lots of other senators just as bad, but she takes your money and then spits in your face. She spits sangria in your face.
Because of where she was, right? Like she's at a national conference for restaurant lobbying, correct?
Yes, let's turn to that now. So in addition to voting to stop wage increase with the minimum wage, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin will headline the national conference of the restaurant lobbying group that led that battle. Actually, it's one of the industries most opposed to raising the minimum wage and getting rid of the tipped minimum wage. That's obviously far lower. As a person who's worked in many service industry jobs, I've had checks that were for $5 after a week of 60 hours. I know what that's like. And they have a lobby and they have favorite senators. And so they've brought Manchin and Sinema in to talk. They're gonna be featured on panels entitled Seeking Unity, Conversations on Finding Bipartisan Solutions. But bear in mind, this is the National Restaurant Association. So finding bipartisan solutions to which problem exactly? We know the problem. The problem is, oh my God, we might have to pay them. Let's find some bipartisan solutions to those problems. And I'm sure together, Sinema, Manchin, and a few others, Francesca, will be able to.
Yeah, the bipartisanship is like, let's give an 8% tip. What do you say? Republicans want to leave 5%, Democrats want to do like a 12, settle on 8. call it a day. No, this is an incredibly important issue also. Remember, we're at a time where during COVID, corporations made massive amounts of money, grocery stores, et cetera, and restaurants largely have suffered, right? Especially small restaurants. So you could see the impetus, and you could imagine that small and mid-sized restaurants might want to ally themselves with larger restaurants and chains and powerful groups to basically, kill the idea that you would one day actually pay workers a wage rather than having them only rely on tips, right? And there is a huge movement called One Fair Wage that does incredible work around this, and it bears out that yes, it is important to give a minimum wage to tip workers. They won't be making less money. That is the lie that they are often told, and often told by folks in the industry. But no, that they deserve that baseline minimum wage.
Totally.
But yeah, right. And so you have like this moment of after COVID, a lot of these restaurants are gonna be saying, oh, dude, sorry, see, we'd love to, but because COVID, we can't. Don't look at our PPP loans. No, I mean, we might have gotten some, but we still can't afford it. So like this fight is gonna start redoubling. And I think it's really important to start dispelling that disinformation around the idea that restaurants have to be exploitative. They have to do that in order to survive. That is absolutely not true. And if there were better wage standards, if there were more protections for workers, it wouldn't be that way.
Yeah, if there perhaps weren't a bunch of senators like Sinema and Manchin who are this is the process we were just talking about in an earlier story. They're headlining this conference for this lobby group. I wonder who these different industries are gonna give money to for their reelection battles. I don't know, we're gonna have to stay tuned to find out. But what I do know is that we won't know what they actually say, because the conference event registration page says it's an off the record event closed to press. So it's our senators going and speaking to representation for an industry, and we don't get to find out what it is. So it's definitely pro-worker stuff they're saying. That's why they want to hide it from the press. Now, what's interesting is that executives of the NRAs, this is the National Restaurant Association, not the Rifle Associations, member restaurant chains, including Denny's, McDonald's, Domino's, and Cheesecake Factory, have been telling their investors that they will not be significantly harmed by a higher minimum wage. That it's actually not going to harm them, that what they say publicly and what they lobby for is a lie. They say we can't raise wages because that will hurt us. So they admit it won't hurt them, but you'll notice they still don't want to raise the wages. Is it possible it's not about them being hurt? It's that they don't want to pay more. That's it. That doesn't require, that is the end. That's not the means, it's the end, making sure that you make less. And so when you have that, it's all public, that Manchin and Sinema would go. Well, Manchin at the very least has this aura of being like the pro-labor senator. What pro-labor senator is getting invited to give a cozy, probably well-paid speech at this national conference of a lobbying group?
I don't know. Today is the day that news broke that Senator Joe Manchin is going to co-sponsor the PRO Act. Look, guys, I'll believe it when I see it. When that passes, I will believe it. But look, you still have to get through the filibuster. And I still don't see that happening. I'm sorry, I don't believe Joe Manchin for a hot second, which is as long as he can hold a political idea or point in his mind. Like that is how the extent of his principle. 1 second and then he turns. As soon as he starts getting congratulated, especially from the liberals and the left, that's when he turns to the right. So don't believe Joe Manchin until you see the proof. But yes, speaking at a conference that's deliberately trying to tank a grassroots movement, just like the Fight for 15 movement, but with inside the restaurant industry, is a dead giveaway that this person does not care about unionization. This person does not care about workers' rights. And absolutely, like, but you're saying, John, these corporations know they can easily pay that. But no, they prefer to give us, and look, I'm a solid 20% tipper, right? But like, if I knew that a server was being paid $15 an hour, that might go down to 10. It's not gonna go down to 0, which is what like a lot of scaremongers will tell you, like, oh yeah, there'll be no tips. No, man. Cause I changed my order 3 times or whatever. And like, I said the onions weren't cooked enough. Cause like they give me gas.
Will occasionally get mad and you'll throw food on the ground. That happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's the breadcrumb tax of me throwing crumbs. I eat very messily.
She's bad with crackers. She's just terrible. She doesn't understand. She doesn't get them really. Yeah. So anyway, look, I'm glad that the fact that they're appearing there is getting coverage. David Sirota and others writing about it in Jacobin. People need to understand who these senators are. If they're gonna be as powerful as the president individually, let's follow them around the country. Let's listen to what they say. Let's see what they do.
Yes.
And then let's prep for primary challenges accordingly. I don't know about you, but like, there's a couple things I'm looking forward to in my life. Seeing Black Widow in theaters is one, and aiding in whoever primaries Kyrsten Sinema is the other, basically. Those are my 2 things. Maybe some future Pop-Tart flavors, I don't know. I'm open to a third, but those are the 2 reasons I wanna live. Anyway.
First of all, you realize that she's gonna go as Black Widow for Halloween and your whole world is going to crumble.
No.
And I want you to prepare for that, John Iadarola.
No, she'll be like, no, because she wants to be kind of in tune, but she'll be a little out of tune. She'll go as Catwoman, like on the year Black Widow comes out. Anyway, but it'll be pink leather. Yes. Anyway. With that, let's jump into our next story. And I apologize in advance that I'm going to have to say the name of she who should not be named, but unfortunately will be. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene has backed off as a result of criticism and pressure, with people identifying that her most recent move was like kind of racist. She's backing down on her plan to launch a right-wing congressional group dubbed the America First Caucus after the publication of a 7-page platform vowing to protect, quote, Anglo-Saxon political traditions by congressional newsletter Punchbowl News. So members of Congress in both parties over the past few days interpreted, I think fairly, the platform's references to Anglo-Saxon political traditions and the progeny of European architecture as coded, but not really that coded white supremacist language. Like it's a pretty easy code. It's like instead of the letters, they're in lowercase code.
Yes.
But anyway, apparently following that pressure, it's not gonna happen. A spokesperson says she's not planning on launching it at this time, adding that it was in the early planning stages, but that the publication of the document by Punchbowl blew it all up. The early planning stages, the 7-page manifesto phase, as we've all experienced in our own launch of groups. So yeah, we got some more statements we'll give, Francesca, but it's apparently not happening.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna go on and say, initially when I saw that Kevin McCarthy and Liz Cheney had come out sort of condemning the America First Caucus, I was like, okay, good, because we were waiting for that. It's still gonna happen. There is no way that it's not gonna happen, even if Paul Gosar has distanced himself from it, even if Marjorie Taylor Greene's office is distancing themselves from it. Look at her tweets, guys. They're gonna come back with this thing and it's just gonna take out the overt white replacement theory stuff, because the progeny of European architecture, perfectly fine code for like, we don't want no mosques or whatever, or like build more Confederate statues. Anglo-Saxon political, they might change that. They'll just get rid of the Anglo-Saxon, that'll be whatever. The white replacement theory, they'll code it a little bit more, but it's all there. They're gonna roll it back out, and absolutely we need to be concerned about this.
Yeah, I think so. And judging by if you don't, but if you go on her Twitter page, don't. But if you did, and you shouldn't, she has been tweeting about America First way more than usual. Like she backed down, but as she backed down, she was throwing stuff like about racism and columns or whatever, the architecture. Let's see her write a 2-page paper summarizing the traditions of European architecture. Let's see her
just
give
2 pages.
2 pages. That's not even that much.
With double space.
That's fine. Because I'm gonna have notes.
When the mosque is round, European drowned.
I want to see her define Anglo-Saxon very specifically. Who is that exactly? Because they're pale, I get it, but I'm gonna need more than just that. But anyway, the retreat had a few more closing shots, including from her spokesperson, Nick Dyer, who will someday resign in shame, told Forbes early Saturday the platform was, quote, never approved or agreed to by Congresswoman Greene, with Greene calling it a staff level draft proposal from an outside group that I hadn't read. And I haven't heard of the staff, and I don't know what a staff is, and I don't know anything. This didn't have anything to do with me. Now, what's funny about that is that same guy, Nick Dyer, told CNN on Friday the America First Caucus platform would be released very soon. Now it's like, I ain't never heard of any of that. But before it was like, stay tuned. What changed? Maybe the criticism. As you alluded to, Paul Gosar, who was reported to be planning the group with Greene. And remember, he's been going to like white nationalist conferences recently. He claimed in a statement to have first alerted the platform by reading about it in the news yesterday, like everyone else, adding, let me be perfectly clear. I did not author this paper. I, in fact, don't know how to read or write. So look, everywhere you look, really racist people are like, I didn't have anything to do with that. You would have to be really dumb to sign on to it. And there was one person dumb enough. Representative Louis Gohmert told Forbes on Friday that the America First Caucus was a real group Greene had founded and said he was looking at joining it, though he added that he hadn't seen the platform. He defended the idea of the group and argued it's not supposed to be about race at all. Yeah. Why are you interested then? You're interested in the columns? Is it the particular arch that you like about European architecture?
I mean, and Gates also said he's proud to join. He's so ready. I mean, gosh, at this point, he's like, anything, save me, caucus, yay. But this is the insurrectionist caucus. That's all the American First Caucus is. And like they're telling on themselves by joining it, not just that they're racist or that they believe in white nationalist, replacement theories, but that, yeah, they were the ones to help stage the insurrection from the inside, tweeting about Nancy Pelosi's location, trying to, in a parliamentarian way, overturn a Democratic election. That's them. Here we are, come get us.
It was. Well, there's one other angle I'd like to talk to you about on this. With the, at least for now, death of the America First Caucus, although as Francesca has predicted, it will rise again, and I think she's onto something. I wanted to just warn them for their eventual return of it that some people might not like that. And it's not that I won't like it, they don't care about that. It's not that it's like super racist, obviously they don't mind that. But there is one person they respect, one person they now worship above everyone else, including Donald Trump, and that is Dr. Seuss, best author ever.
Yes,
remember,
of course.
They love Dr. Seuss. Well, he had something to say about America First. You might have seen some of these, but we've collected his thoughts on that. Here's a comic he did of America First, literally joined at the beard with the Nazis. Now there's also some Seuss era racism in the caption there, but he was saying that it's effectively the same exact sideshow. Let's see, you've got this one where the America Firsters are literally eating the roots, collapsing the US morale tree. And that I think is supposed to be a bald eagle, even though it looks like a vulture. But America First is ruining US morale. You also have this one for all you animal lovers. America First is just one of three fellers going for a ride with the Nazis and the fascists. So Dr. Seuss, most respected of all of the authors, he had some pretty clear thoughts about America First and that whole philosophy.
I love this so hard, and it's a history lesson too. And I think it gives us a roadmap for where we need to go and how we need to resist this new rise of America First. Because America First, back then was all about not getting involved in World War II and basically low key supporting, the Nazis' rise to power and the persecution of Jews, right? And their murder. Like it was like, that's fine, that's not our place. It was severe isolationism that was girded by or undergirded by a lot of racism and anti-Semitism. And that's really important for us to remember now, because you hear things that feel like leftist talking points, like, let's end forever wars. Let's stop invading other countries, which I agree with. A lot of progressives and leftists absolutely agree with, but not for, xenophobic not for xenophobic reasons, not because it's not, we shouldn't gather together in terms of internationalism and work against like human rights violations and things like that. It's because the US has a terrible track record recently of doing exactly that. But there are things that in this caucus that I really think Democrats need to take seriously, and they are the racism, but really they are the language, the bad faith language around isolationism and anti-war sentiment, as well as fair trade versus free trade. This document in America First folks claim that they want fair trade and they hate free trade. Well, all of that is just about hating China and anti-China rhetoric, which the left really needs to push against, and about severe isolationism, which the left also needs to claim like, no, it's not isolationism. It's about respecting sovereignty of other nations and making sure we don't get involved in another Iraq or Afghanistan. But the fact is, with Biden Democrats and with centrist Democrats, we might lose, and we already have lost that moral ground, that perfect ground so many progressives want Democrats to take up the mantle of, which is being anti-war, being for fair trade, for all the right reasons.
Exactly, yes, yeah. It's not too much to ask that people be a little bit savvy, a little bit nuanced, and not simply take, that person on the most shallow level possible agrees with one of my political objectives. That's not enough. Why do they want that?
Yes.
Now the answer to that might not be super essential for that question, but for lots of other ones, it could be really important. Are you against forever wars for a wide range of reasons grounded in your values, or because screw what happens over there? Yeah. Well, if that's why, then that's kind of a problem. Maybe you're not my ally so much. Maybe we agree on this, but I'm not interested in promoting you, that sort of thing. And that applies to, as Francesca's pointed out, a lot of this international stuff, but that can really be applied to almost everything in politics. There are people who sort of sound pro-worker, but really delve into who's funding them, what are the implications of what they're pushing for. That's the sort of nuance that I think we have time for and I think we can do.
Yeah, and is their pro-worker stance also a pro-immigration stance? Meaning, is it not racist? If your pro-worker stance, like so many right-wingers is grounded in militarizing the border, being even more racist, not recognizing the hard work that immigrants do, documented or undocumented, then no, you're not our ally on this.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, I'm sure that Fox and Friends is gonna be doing 30 segments on these cartoons. After all, these books are tended to train us. That's how we learn, is with Dr. Seuss. Here are some clear lessons, let's learn them. Sort of doubt it. Anyway, we're gonna see what's going on in the audience before we jump ahead to our next story. Late Bloomer 65 says, ordered my green Dragon Squad t-shirt, can't wait. So if you weren't here last week to see, we now have the sort of classic Dragon Squad shirt available with Green Dragon at shoptyt.com. It looks awesome. The whole team has gotten them, big fans of them. So that is available, as well as the classic red. Don't worry about that. Kativa Stormcrow says, first day of my new job, plus I get my second dose of the Pfizer vaccine tomorrow, so felt like spreading the love. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Kativa, I appreciate that. Jeffrey says, good morning, Dragon Daddy. Good morning to you too. Danny says, Fran is why I don't hate Mondays. Look at that, Francesca doing a public service to so many people. That's pro-worker. Okay, TR says, s'mores 5X. Thank you. I can't say that the money will go directly into s'mores, but there's a good chance with me. Roger Harris says, hey, John and Franny. John, I'm not gonna lie. You looking extra fine, and so is Franny. Sidebar: have either of you watched The People versus the KKK? It was heavy, but worth the watch. Ooh. I haven't actually. Does sound heavy, but worth the watch. Thank you, Roger Harris.
I feel like we're living it. Can we just watch the news?
We were just talking about it. Okay, Maria says boyfriend got text from his dispatcher today saying boyfriend couldn't have time off to get his scheduled vaccine because COVID is overblown and is like a cold. Just love living in a red state, not. Just don't show up. I mean, you'll probably get fired. Yeah. Imagine still thinking that like close to 600,000 people have died in America.
No.
3 million people worldwide.
That right there. That is why we need the PRO Act. That is why we need to change this country. Like that disrespect for workers and science. My God, this is all the same fight.
Yeah. Duncan Rose says, I'm a barista in Washington. We have the highest minimum wage. People still tip. They tip more when the minimum wage goes up because our customers work. That's a great point. They also, by the way, go to restaurants more when they have more money. It all makes sense if you think about it. Anyway, Patrick says, hi, John and Fran, going in for radiation this week to kill the rest of the thyroid cancer. Also getting sick of playing Bowie's I'm Afraid of Americans on a daily basis, but not expecting change. Patrick, hope it goes smoothly and as easily as possible. Charlene, thank you for your super sticker, appreciate that. Over on Twitch, let's see. Lucinda gifted 2 tier 1 subs, thank you so much. Maria Hall DK gifted 1 2. The Love Fern gifted 2. That was an interesting name, makes you think. Zuldaman subscribed for the 3rd month. Here comes the Tony for the 7th. Says Dr. Seuss is their favorite author because it's advanced reading for them. That's assuming that they don't just look at the pictures. But with his, even the pictures can teach you a lesson. Sparkle Dragon 93 subscribed for the 5th month. Brian Carino for 3. Thank you for that. Says my morning isn't started till after I watch TDR. Thank you. Thank you. And my morning doesn't really start until I'm done with it. Then we do the production meeting, the interview, and all that. And today, the top 10 list, which I can't wait to do. Anyway, okay. Thank you for the tweets as well. Let's jump back in. We've got several more things we want to get to. I know Sophie is feeling, no, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do the D block right now for all the haters and conspiracy theorists out there.
D block?
Anyway, let's jump into it. Maxine Waters is apparently the right's target for this week, with virtually all of them agreeing on one thing: she's gotta go. Why? I don't know, whatever. Let's just get rid of her. It seemed to start over the weekend with Marjorie Greene, who tweeted, very soon I'll be introducing a resolution to expel Maxine Waters for Congress for her continual incitement of violence on innocent American people. Rep. Waters is a danger to our society. She'd know, I guess. Takes one to know one. But anyway, it's not just her. There's others, and we'll get to them. But so what is this kind of about? Well, it's about a lot of different things, but one is the commentary that she made this weekend when she went to visit with Black Lives Matter protesters at Brooklyn Center's protests around the curfew for the recent killing there. She said, among other things, if Chauvin isn't found guilty with Derek Chauvin's trial, which is going on concurrently, in fact, as we're filming this, the closing statements are being made. She says, we've got to stay on the street and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know we mean business. To which Lauren Boebert, technically a congressperson, says, why is Maxine Waters traveling to a different state trying to incite a riot? What good can come from this? Yes, Lauren Boebert, notably anti-government riot, always. She's always had that position. Won't stand for it, will not stand for it, Lauren Boebert. And so we've got more, Francesca, but so far, what do you think?
I mean, just do anything for clout. You know what I mean? They're just trying. They're trying to bite off some Maxine Waters clout, and of course, failing miserably. And I'm glad they're just bringing attention to the fact that Maxine Waters is standing in solidarity with the folks at Brooklyn Center. And yeah, I'm sorry that you are only in solidarity with white nationalist 17-year-olds that kill unarmed protesters. Like like is that what you're mad at? You don't have the grassroots connect? You'll get them, but I mean that's the thing. It's like what a terrible week, you guys. This has been such a painful week, and I feel like it's been so clear from the links between Oath Keepers and like current law enforcement, to the donations made to Kyle Rittenhouse's defense fund from lawmakers. It is mask off for the police. We understand this is beyond reform, and they are losing the moral high. If they ever had the moral high ground, they're losing it. They're losing the political argument. They're losing the moral argument. We're now moving from reform to really reimagining and changing what the police do and all the money that they are given to do it poorly, right? So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this desperation of people trying to stay relevant when they know they're losing.
Yeah, they might be. There are temporary successes that they can have. I mean, after all, both of those people that we've quoted became congresspeople. They're doing very well at raising money. We're gonna turn to Fox and Friends in a bit. They're gonna try to distract you around this, and they might get good ratings. So those are victories for them. With the idea being the killings keep happening, let's distract people, make them think about something else. The issue is that that's successful with their target audience. Raising money amongst some conservatives, getting viewers. That isn't successful in winning over the majority of Americans. That's why they keep losing national elections. And people are getting more than ever that something needs to change. This is really annoying, and it does slow things down, I think. But they lose on virtually every issue, despite Fox being on every hour, every day. There are always gonna be the Matt Gaetzes and awful people out there, but they're not actually winning the national conversation. That said, let's go to a little bit more of the target of the attacks against Maxine Waters. Fox News was cover the fact that the Post, which I believe is affiliated, saying that she needs to be impeached and removed for pouring fuel on the fire in Minnesota. She encouraged everyone to keep protesting, though she herself would not be. Well, she was there, like she was there over the weekend. Anyway, Maxine Waters is trying to create a civil war. Anyway, how serious should you take the New York Post editorial board call for her to be impeached and removed? Well, a little bit less so when you realize that there is no constitutional mechanism for a congressperson being impeached. That's not a thing. You can be removed, you can be expelled. You can't be impeached. They didn't care enough to actually read the section of the Constitution about it. But anyway, I also want to show you that's the New York Post, the best work they've done in weeks. Sorry,
it's just hard when there's when there's no like politician who solicited sex from a woman who's got like semi-nude photos online. Like, I don't know, hit up your boy Matt. Like maybe Gates's got like more photos that you can publish without someone's consent. Like if there's not someone in lingerie on every like in the New York Post every single day.
Yep.
It's like a tree falling in the woods type thing. Are they even a paper? Do they even exist? But anyone who's saying, can we not get it lost? Like, do not let it be lost on you that anyone's saying that specifically a Black American is trying to create a civil war. My God.
That's pretty terrible.
You think that people of color have a victim complex? Oh my God, your victim complex is so strong that you think that she's trying to start a civil war. Oh, you lost that one and you'll lose it again, damn it.
That's true. Well, there's a little bit more because Fox and Friends got involved in the new right war on Maxine Waters this morning. Take a look at how they covered the story.
Waters from the First Amendment allows you to say whatever you want, but what happened to peaceful protesting? She's asking for more confrontations, to get more active, to stay out on the streets.
That's right. If you look at a headline also inside the New York Post today, they dub her Antifa Maxine, which is exactly right. And she also went on to encourage rejecting the curfew. Asked about it, she said, I don't even know what a curfew means, says Maxine Waters. A curfew means that I want y'all to stop talking. I don't agree with it. Last time I checked, I don't think it was too much talking that was happening in Brooklyn Center after 11 p.m. or too much talking that was happening outside the police precinct in Minneapolis after George Floyd. There were riots going on.
Okay, so few things there. One is that they are pissed at her for being against the curfews. So the local government has said you can't be out after this time, and she's against that, and some of the activists are against that, and they think that is unacceptable. Literally the only thing that has motivated the right over the last year is being anti-lockdown. Like, how dare the government tell me where I can go and when? That's tyranny. That's the only thing they've cared about for a full year, is you don't get to tell me where I go, with who, when, and what size group, what I have to put on my face. Now all of a sudden it's a big issue. They had a problem with her saying that if Chauvin isn't found guilty, we should protest, thus saying she supports him being found guilty. Yes, they would never want a congressperson to comment on a legal matter. That shouldn't be allowed at all. That's the sort of free speech stance that Fox consistently takes. All of this is utter BS. Yes. They don't like Maxine, they don't like Black Lives Matter. Every other bit of this has nothing to do with values or standards or anything concrete. It's just, what do we have to say to make you hate Antifa?
Also, you're not covering this accurately, Fox News, as if anyone would expect you to. But if you were to zoom out and to see the tanks rolling through the streets of Minnesota, the incredible outsized force that the police has bared down on protesters, that might give you a better sense of how these folks are being treated. Maybe how you want them to be treated. Look, it's happening. It's almost as if the state works against Black Americans and people fighting for civil rights, and it works for upholding a racist system of policing. Almost, but no, but you won't show that because like it's insane to me because you and I think anyone, if you call yourself freedom loving or you believe in a free America, and then your town has got tanks running through it, even the white people, that's gotta upset them. Like, oh gosh, look at all this. And so just again, and I think, John, you make such a good point, and I think we really need to always remember the second most painful moment after George Floyd being murdered was the fact that the protests that came after it were met with the exact same kind of police violence that they were protesting. And this is after months or already a few months of a lockdown. No, we don't have money for healthcare. No, we don't have money for masks. No, we don't have money for all of these other city services to help people who are trying to save their lives. Oh, but we have money to crack your skulls.
Yep.
That's it. And we're not forgetting that. We are not forgetting that as we move out of the pandemic.
Yeah, and actually to tie together that point with the point we were making about who's winning the national conversation, we saw that despite endless fear mongering and demonization of those protests throughout last year, that people did move in the direction of acknowledging that radical reform of the police is necessary.
Yes.
And why wouldn't they?
Roger Goodell, the NFL.
That even rhymed. Yeah, I mean, watching cops just, hey, there's a bunch of protesters. I've got an SUV. Let's see what happens when you mix these two things up and just run into them. Or just like we saw endless police brutality. So regardless of, let's say you're an absolute caveman and watching the George Floyd stuff didn't move you, it's hard to stand up to night after night after night after night of police brutalizing people all throughout the country. And then the president deciding to one up it by dispatching his goon squad to black bag people off the street and push them into Kia minivans. Anyway, with that said, let's go to very different news. This is gonna be different than usual, but I thought that you might enjoy it. Okay. I had not thought of yoga as a particularly controversial thing, but apparently in some parts of the country it is. In fact, for nearly 3 decades, teaching yoga in Alabama's public schools has been forbidden by the state school board. One lawmaker, Jeremy Gray, has been trying to change that since 2019. So Gray has a bill being presented to the Alabama Senate that would allow public schools and students to engage in yoga during gym classes. Gym classes, let's bear that in mind, not like calculus or anything. It's a physical activity that would be done perhaps in place of some dodgeball. So the lifting of the ban was approved by the State House of Representatives in March. And last week, Gray's bill passed out of the Senate Judiciary Committee and now awaits a full debate and vote on the Senate floor. So why is this necessary? Well, In 1993, the school board had a regulation that says that school personnel shall be prohibited from using any techniques that involve the induction of hypnotic states, guided imagery, meditation, or yoga, very specifically. And around the time, parents in the state were raising concerns not only about yoga, but also about hypnotism and psychotherapeutic techniques. According to an April 1993 article in the Anniston Star, one mother in Birmingham said her child had bought a relaxation tape home from school that made the boy visibly high. I don't think that's the only thing he brought home from school. The tape. But anyway, so Gray's bill says the school systems could authorize yoga if they choose. Yoga done in school would be limited to poses and stretches, and all poses would have to have English names. What a stupid thing. The American First Caucus will love that. Anyway, the use of chanting, mantras, and teaching the greeting namaste would be forbidden.
Oh man, Alabama.
No namasteing in bed shirts, not allowed on school grounds.
Alabama, baby steps, baby steps. And right into the child's pose. You're at a child's pose level of yoga, which is just sort of lying down and shutting up. It'll be, instead of downward facing dog, it'll be like downward facing missionary style. Just in case anybody gets any ideas. Good. Yay, I think it's very funny that ever the idea that meditation or like breathing while you just sit still would make someone hypnotized. Yeah, they're all hypnotized by the lack of anxiety. Americans' puritanical values, the Anglo-Saxon values of America is just being in a tense state of paranoia at all times and heightened anxiety.
The Anglo-Saxons literally could not tie their shoes. Like it doesn't go down or
they had to have buckles. They literally couldn't. They just had to have buckles there.
Yeah. Now, really fast, it would be sad enough and is sad enough that in 1993 in Alabama, they banned yoga. That we were so backwards and superstitious and all of that we were doing that. Well, if you've paid attention to the QAnon thing, you know that we haven't advanced. In fact, we seem to have regressed. And so why wouldn't people still have a problem with yoga? And they're coming out of the woodwork, the pale whitewashed woodwork. You have the National Center for Law and Policy, an organization of Christian lawyers who take on legal cases backing anti-abortion, anti-gay marriage, and other causes that they call civil liberties. They have a fact sheet claiming to prove that yoga cannot be separated from its religious roots in Hinduism. Quote, yoga can be dangerous, causing injuries, death from stroke, and psychotic episodes. Okay.
Hysteria, burn them at the stake. They are witches, look at how they do that. The flying crow pose, that is a witch move, it is.
Psychotic episodes from yoga. It's the warrior pose, not becoming a warrior. It's not real. Death from stroke. Okay, if our nation's elementary school kids are having strokes, it's not the yoga, it's the pizza Fridays that are causing it. Dangerous. We do dodgeball. I can bash you in the face with a ball and that's allowed. We play football, we wrestle and stuff.
Yeah, if you've been to a public school, do you know the temperature of the pool? That like somehow like swim is scheduled for December? It's freezing. The fact that I haven't had a stroke there and then always said, I'm on my period, sorry. And then the PE teachers would just be like, oh my gosh, you talked about blood, you talked about menstruation. That's the level of public school physical education that I had. Come on, guys, rope. Remember the rope?
Like the pole?
Just pulling yourself up a disgusting rope.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Now, look, there are concerns about stroke. But these Christian groups aren't just talking about the danger. No, they're making it explicitly Christian. So the Eagle Forum of Alabama's Becky Gerritsen says yoga is a very big part of the Hindu religion. And if this bill passes, then instructors will be able to come into classrooms as young as kindergarten and bring these children through guided imagery, which is a spiritual exercise. Okay, so yes, some Hindus do yoga. Okay, that's a tradition, sort of. Yes, unsatisfying, uncreative sex is a tradition of Christians. That doesn't mean that if you do it, you become Christian. They're just linked. It's not causal.
Imagine thinking in the year 2021 that yoga isn't white enough. Yoga is the whitest. Ask anyone who's South Asian, ask any Hindu. Yoga is white, people, all right? Go to any yoga studio in LA or literally anywhere. You'll be very safe and comfortable as a racist because it's very white.
Yeah, children at that age are very tech savvy, and if they're taught yoga, all they have to do is Google it, and they will immediately find information on the spiritual aspects of it and look at it. Because information's bad, and you have Google anyway. You could find out about Hinduism anyway. It's just, it's 2021, and we are a bunch of dumb little babies. That's all we are. Harry Potter is gonna make you a witch, and D&D is gonna make you a worshiper of Satan, hail Satan. And we haven't evolved at all. So when I was much younger, I thought someday it'll be like in Star Trek. Nope, gotta set that date back a bit because we are not moving in the right direction.
I love young John Iadarola.
We're all gonna work together for the betterment of man.
We'll have peacemakers on the streets and no police. And every Pop-Tarts for everybody.
Exactly. Nope. No brown sugar. You don't get it. We didn't earn it. Okay, with that, I'm gonna read just a couple super chats. I believe we have time for a final story.
Oh.
We can go for a little bit. We would never tread into indisputable territory, but we are gonna get close to it. So, really fast. Okay, May Money to Billing says, people ask me a lot if I ever want to move out of Oakland and Cali, and I'd be like, nah, the US is terrifying. I would move to a different country first. I get it. Luis Belmont says, yoga and Debbie Ryan are the two biggest exports of Alabama. That's funny. Raleigh Jones says, the South's gonna do it again. Yeah, no, they're just gonna keep doing the same bad stuff. 9 and some quarters says this Marjorie Greene move being coded is like the code for a Sudoku puzzle missing just one number. It's pretty laid out. You know what it really is. That's a good point. Wiseacre says, after a week of fighting for my life in the hospital from a ruptured appendix and severe sepsis, so happy to be back with the Dragon Squad. Missed you guys. And Franny, I love your big, beautiful brain. Glad to hear it, Wiseacre.
Beautiful brain.
It's the best brain.
Best brain, amazing. Very beautiful. Hot brain. Hourglass brain. Thank you.
That's nice. And in advance of our top 10 list, which again, there's still time. You can sign up, become a tier 2 or tier 3 member on YouTube. Top 10 comedians. Francesca and I can break it down. Bart is typing into the doc. One of my favorite comedians in my top 10 is Mitch Hedberg, and he quotes his favorite Mitch Hedberg joke. I'm sick of following my dreams, man. I'm just gonna ask where they're going and hook up with them later. That's a good one. Mitch Hedberg is a classic. Thank you, Baby Ruth, for subscribing for the 5th month. Appreciate that. Zephyr for 6 months, and TJM Sigil, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that. Frank Morningtree, by the way, gifted 25 tier 1 subs on Twitch. Frank Morningtree, you are my hero. Did I ever tell you that? You are the wind beneath TDR's wings, and those wings are scaly. Okay, with that, let's jump into our last story. Okay, let's get out our last bit of news commentary, get rid of the politics, and then we'll talk about some comedians after that. Lin Wood is crazy. Remember the Trump supporting lawyer who wanted to overturn the election, believed in Q and all that. OAN, One American News, is also crazy. Which is crazier? Well, we actually have a way of finding out because OAN decided to show some of Lin Wood's video from his appearance at the weekend's Health and Freedom Conference. And we'll see who cuts out first, Lin Wood or OAN. Here it is.
Planned it. He plans every detail of your life. He knows how many hairs are on your beautiful head. And he uses your sins and he uses your shortcomings to teach you. so that when the time comes that he's ready and you've been learning, watch out for this next move. He's going to rebirth you into the spirit world and create exactly the person that he intended you to be. There's your cue. Cue.
All right, we've been listening to Lin Wood speaking at the Health and Freedom Conference there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Right now, we're going to get on to other top stories.
Yeah, we're going to get on to anything other than there's your cue. There's your cue. Man, I've been to some bad performances, but that sucks. But I do wonder, though, Francesca, which is worse, the performance or the crowd there?
Anglo-Saxon traditions.
That's what that is.
I'm so glad we're getting back to them in America. I'm serious, you guys. They're gonna be burning people at the stake. This is what's gonna happen. And we talked about yoga. And Q does stand for queef. And there's a lot of queefanon in yoga. You're always like, who was that? Was that a?
That's a throwback. I remember that. Anyway.
No, holy God, you feel like a dark hand of like cult. You know, have you ever been in I'm sorry, look, there's some great churches, but I've been into mega churches, and you know the feeling of like cult starts to like, it's like a cloud that descends, and you're like, ooh, that was not a good like, why did I have to get up for that? Why am I clapping? Why is my arm out raised? Oh, why does this look like a, you know what I mean? Like, why does this look like a Hitler salute? Like that, obviously that didn't happen in that church, but you know, there's
they have
moments.
A new one. They have the Q salute.
They have the Q salute. You guys, this is, what do we do, John? What do we do?
Look, maybe this is a good sign. OAN cut away. They found that to be a little too crazy. And it's not that Lin Wood did it. Lin Wood is insane. He's gonna do that. Like the stuff he was saying about religion was just as creepy and weird. And as part of my ongoing effort to ruin God for you, I know that like they apparently found it to be comforting, the prospect that God knows how many hairs are on your beautiful head. Like he's invested in you, he knows about you. But then presumably he knows where all the other hairs are too. And he's counting them. That's weird. Why is God counting the hairs on your ass? That's what God does, according to Lin Wood. Anyway, it's that he said all the creepy God stuff and he got some applause. But then when he was like, no, I'm doing the Q, that's a Q. That's when that massive crowd was like, yeah, yes, a Q. I know that like we want to think the world's moved on and the Q thing's done. No, it's not. I still love the Q stuff. It's the best. Do the hand thing. I like the hand thing. That's what scared me about that video.
Yeah.
But you know what else was a little bit scary, Francesca?
Yeah, what? Please.
You don't get to talk about the Q stuff just with God knowing how many hairs are on you and whether you've shaved or whatever. It has to go to the violence. And so it didn't take long from the baby hair stuff to go to this.
Every lie will be revealed. They're killing our children. Send them to jail. Put them in front of a firing squad. They are committing acts against humanity. The penalty for an act against humanity is death. Take them out.
Okay, so a bunch of people need to be killed. That is the whole Q thing. That's the cream filling of the Q thing. I don't like people. Tell me who not to like, and they're gonna die. Firing squads, or like there's firing squads. Then there's these are crimes against humanity. The penalty for that is death. And then he shouted at a crowd of thousands of people to go get him. Maybe he was yelling to the government, but he was also yelling to a crowd of thousands of people.
You know,
but Maxine Waters is insane.
I've never prayed before, but I think I'm going to start. And I certainly have never prayed for a super spreader event, but I am right now.
I know what you want. It is Tulsa, after all.
I hope, I'm just gonna say it. I hope there's no HEPA filters in that place.
My God.
Why?
So
they've put themselves there. They put themselves at risk. Like, honestly, like, this is the health conference.
Francesca,
what?
Yes, that is where we had the big super spreader Trump thing. But here's the issue with your plan. Every single person in that room has had COVID. Every one of them has already had COVID. You know it.
Sign
that with a Q.
These people will lose every single loved one as long as it means they can take down Tom Hanks's pedophile ring. Like, we'd get him. Just that is scary. I don't ever want to see that again. I don't want to think about that. I will go watch that People versus KKK documentary.
That would be better.
And feel much better, because that is very scary. You guys, we need to call your aunts and uncles. Seriously though, if you have them in your family, reach out to them. Lifeline every once in a while, send them a little email and be like, okay, like, who is the pedophile? Like, let's talk about it. How do you feel about Forrest Gump? Okay, like that kind of thing. Just reach out, because these people they're in need of help. They're in need of help. Call your family. All right, just call them. I know it's painful, but sometimes you have to call them.
It is. Okay, everybody, that is unfortunately all the time we have. Francesca, as always, thank you so much. Francesca, where can people see your amazing work?
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Your big beautiful brain.
My big beautiful brain can be found Sundays 5/8 Eastern on YouTube at Franny Fio for the Bitchuation Room podcast, which is also a live stream, and you can listen as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Awesome. And we're about to go film our top 10 list, available to tier 2 and tier 3 YouTube members. So feel free to become one and you'll get access to our top 10 comedians. But you have only a few minutes until Dr. Rashad Richey is indisputable starts at twitch.tv/TYT. Many of you are already there. If you're watching on another platform, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to head over to twitch.tv/TYT. Dr. Rashad Richey is awesome. The show's awesome. The community over there is awesome. So you're gonna have a good time. Go try it out. And until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.